At the lows, before we rallied about 90 points in the morning off of this demand zone, we saw some key signs on the tape indicating a very large buyer slash algorithm getting filled a very large position, over $230 million worth of the E-mini S&P 500. You could also trade SPY off this chart. However, we could spot this using the normal level 2 and the normal time and sales. However, in this example, I'm going to show you what I saw on Bookmap, which is a different way to visually represent the tape, level 2 and time and sales, indicating what I saw and how we could play this setup to take advantage of a very large buyer in the market. So very quickly, a brief introduction to what you're looking at here without getting freaked out is basically a time and sales, which is represented by these bubbles. Every bubble you see here represent in green is a market buy order, and everything in red is a market sell order. So these are the type of things we're going to see on the time and sales. They are completed transactions by traders who are showing aggression, who want to get in right now by using a market order. Everything else and the lines that we see in the background is basically a heat map. Now this is the order book. This is the level 2, and everything that is below the current price or the price that we're looking at is a passive buy order, and everything that's highlighted in bright colors above price is a passive sell order. The lines are the level 2, the bubbles are the time and sales. So everything that we see right here as the market is moving lower, these lines, if I hover over it, is going to show us the size at that moment. Now, as I'm recording this, the market's going to close. I can't go back to see what the market was like at 9:38 Eastern and to see what the type of action was and what we saw on the tape, other than looking at a normal candlestick chart or basically a current level 2 in time and sales. So this is going to show the historic data, and we could see what was going on in the auction. So as the market is selling off here, I want to show you what it looks like on the chart. Keep in mind, this is where context is very important. As the S&P 500 was selling off, we had this demand zone at 3884. This is what it looks like on Bookmap. This is 9:37 Eastern. We continuously start to sell off. Now, how I recognize such a large buyer, and I'm going to explain why I think it was an algo, was whenever I see something different on the tape or out of the ordinary, then I know something is a little fishy and something strange, and I got to kind of figure out what is really happening and put the pieces together to come up with a story, to come up with a quality trading setup. So as the market was at the 3880 area, as you can see right here, we started to see some passive buyers showing size. Nothing crazy, but at first we had 274 lots. And the important thing I want to note here is at 3879, we had an order for 159 lots. At 3878, we had another order for about 150 lots. At 3877, we had another order for about 150 lots. So there was someone in the market basically looking to passively buy in increments of exactly 1 point. Now that's a little strange because if we keep going down in the order book, there were about 10 different orders, kind of like a stair step. You normally don't see this in such a clean manner with the same size of 150 lots, along with same price increments of about 1 point each. This was, keep in mind, as the market was selling off as well. So we have a passive buyer in the market, and what made it a little strange again to me was he wasn't showing this size where he didn't show intention to buy until price got about $1 away or a point away, or about maybe at most 2 points away, meaning his little algo or his little buy position didn't show up until about 30 seconds before he got filled. We didn't see this at the open when the market opened up right here where my cursor's at. We didn't see it at the open. Instead, he really showed his intention or showed his position of a large passive buyer about 30 seconds before price got to where he wanted to buy at. So that was a little fishy to me as well, along with this little bracket order where the market basically, there was a passive seller. He did not get filled because we don't see a green bubble up here. But there was a passive sell order that as the market was moving lower, in a really weird pattern, it was also following suit. Something a little automated that really a human, it would be very difficult in a nanosecond to remove an order, to put it back on the market with, a tick difference. So this was definitely some algo type of trading, very large passive buyer in the market, and he got filled his large position. How do we know he got filled? Well, at this point where I said there was 150 lots he was looking to buy, we see an aggressive sell order. For the market to get filled and for a transaction to be completed, a aggressive market sell order has to hit a passive buy order, and vice versa if the market's moving up. So in this case, there's a passive buyer getting hit, and his liquidity is getting removed by an aggressive seller, as we could see it by these very large red bubbles. So he gets filled here is 150 lots, gets filled here is 150, and he got filled about 5 or 6 different times before we tried to move up here. Now again, look at the heat map here. There's still large size, even though his 5 first ones got filled. There's still about 5 under it for a total of 10. So then the market started dipping, and we break the low, right? We break the low, and not only do his 3874 position get filled, but also his 3873 size gets filled. And now he's got 7 different instances on about a point increment each, that he's got about 150 lots each increment. So 150 times 7, I think, is 1,050 of the E-mini future contracts he's filled. So now we know we have a buyer factored into the market. It's evident. And this is very, very strange action. You normally don't see this. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. But this is a little too clean, a little too perfect, and a little too suspicious. He's trying to hide it a little bit, but not being very clean. Now, you could see this by watching the normal level 2 and time and sales. However, Bookmap, it's very easy to spot and visually go back and view it. What I mean by that is you could go on ThinkorSwim or any other broker, pull up your level 2, and you're going to see that size down here, right? But you might not recognize it as a weird pattern, as you could see it visually on this heat map and with all the colors visually representing an important piece of the auction. Now, to sum this up before I go more in depth, just to recap what we went over so far, everything we see as a bubble is a market buy or sell order. Every line we see is a passive order in the market. Think of it as a wall or someone who's waiting for the market to hit their price. And in this case, we have a very large passive buyer getting filled a large position by aggressive sellers hitting his order and taking liquidity away from his passive buy order. Now, there's 2 ways we could play this. The first one is to wait for the reaction out of this area, meaning once we identify this strange activity, wait for market buy orders to start coming into the market. And then once this buyer starts getting rewarded, then we're going to start to see the market come up. Now, briefly, I just want to show you what this looks like on a chart. You're not going to see this on the chart at all. So all you're going to see on the chart, without looking at the level 2 and time and sales, is just the market coming down into this demand zone and then a quick bounce out of it. You're not going to really see what's kind of behind the scenes backing the movements of each candle. So yeah, we did get a bounce out of this demand zone, but the important part here is the reaction out of this, you could call it, where he started his position about 3880 to the low about 3873. So ideally, out of this range, you want to start seeing aggressive market buy orders come into the market. If we have a true buyer standing in the market, he's going to do everything he can to force the market to the upside so his position gets rewarded. The market comes down to effort versus reward. If there's a buyer showing effort, he needs to get rewarded, and then the market's going to move and continue in that direction of that participant. So the first way you could play this is wait for market aggressive buy orders to start coming in. Maybe once they start pouring in, we start seeing some bids step up. Then we could take the market long and capitalize on a quick, from that 8.0 area, this thing rallied about 20 points to the high once that buying volume started to come in after we spotted that buyer in the morning. I mean, look at these green dots up here, volume starting to come in. And at the time, the profile was leaning more towards the aggressive buy side. Or the second way you could play this is wait, right? Maybe you're not confident with taking this move. As you could tell, clean market buy orders up into that after that buyer. The second way, in my opinion, the higher quality of a setup, but the less chances of it happening, is you wait for a retest back into where that buyer basically started his strange activity. So I'm going to pull up a rectangle here, impromptu. And basically this area right here at 3880 to the lows is where he was getting into his position. And what we could do as traders, take this over here, is wait for a retest into his area. So then the market started bouncing. Keep in mind in the rectangle box, we start moving up, then we start pulling back. Look where we bounced at perfectly, right at that 3880, 3876 area. And in the Discord, I was even saying, let me pull this up here, that before, as soon as I saw that, I said I'm not gonna be surprised if the market catches a bid down here at 3880. There's some strong buyers on the tape. And then a few minutes later, I said I would like to see 3884, the 76 hold, because this area that I wanted to hold was the retest of where this buyer basically got into his weird activity. The market pulled back perfectly to where we saw this activity, and this could have been a nice little retest for you to possibly take the market long. Higher probability, lower risk, but the chances of us seeing this over and over again like we did today is going to be a little slimmer. And the same thing, as soon as the buyers start showing up, you could get into the market. Your risk is extremely, extremely tight. Maybe you're risking 7 points, 10 points, 15 points. And looking back on the chart, here's the retest. The market pulled back down. Very heavy volume, as you can see right here. Very, very heavy volume back into that area where we saw that buy earlier. Again, pulled back into it. Very, very heavy buying volume. And then the market bounced. You could have maybe targeted the high. You also could have targeted pre-market highs where we hit perfectly and sold off from that. But in my opinion, the better setup was the retest, because put yourself in his shoes, right? If you're a large buyer with a fat pocket in the market, if we start pulling back to where we bought, you're going to do everything you can in your willpower to hold the market above where you bought, because you don't want to go underwater. Again, effort versus reward. He did everything he could in this chance to hold the market above that. And then we got a solid bounce off of that level at 3880, 3876. I even said in the Discord. And a clean rally. Some nice buying volume came into the market. And it's just being able to read the tape, spotting these little tricks or these manipulation points or something out of the ordinary. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. I hope I did a good job going into detail with that. But reading the tape is a skill that you really learn from screen time and experience. I do have a few videos, or a bunch of videos in the course about reading the tape. I recently, in the past 3 months, just added a tape reading section, basically going over the time and sales in level 2. And the same concepts apply to Bookmap, because Bookmap shows this information just visually in a different way. It's a skill you learn. It's a very important skill, but it's a skill you learn with screen time and experience. And it's the true auction, organic price action behind the market. You combine supply demand zones, and it's extremely, extremely powerful. So I'm going to end the video on that note. I hope you learned something from it. I think it was filled with a bunch of information. I would appreciate a thumbs up, comment if you have any questions, and definitely check out the links in the description below. I offer a very in-depth and educational course that comes with access to the Discord at no extra charge. But peace out.